fellow Nigerians, if you look at what is happening in Nigeria today, you will know that the opposition political parties at the National Assembly and the DSS are the problems of Nigeria. They are currently the problems of Nigeria, because when you put politics above country, what you get is what you are not getting now. Now, some things, let me just give you 4 instances of why the DSS and the National Assembly, especially the opposition parties that ought to be speaking, why there are the problems in Nigeria today. First and foremost, recently, some APC thugs from Kogi State attacked somebody in the Supreme Court, within the premises of the Supreme Court. The DSS could not do anything. They could not arrest anybody because they know it is APC sponsored. But when Nigerians protest unarmed, they arrest, kill, and detain. The same thing they did when the same DSS invaded the High Court. When Omoyele Sowore was in court, they invaded the court, and the Senate told us that they were going to set a panel to investigate the circumstances surrounding the invasion. Till today, about 5 years later, nothing happened. Supreme Court premises was invaded by thugs from APC, and the DSS did nothing. It means that a Supreme Court judge could be killed within the premises of the Supreme Court and nobody would do anything. That is what it means. And that must not be allowed to happen. No senator, not even in the opposition, had the guts to call on the investigation concerning the invasion of the Supreme Court. You were supposed to call DSS boss to come to the Senate to explain. When there was an attempt against the life of Donald Trump, the director of the Secret Service in the US resigned. That attack at the Supreme Court against the SDP candidate because he lost the election, the attack on him was also an attempted assassination. In the sacrosanct building of the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, none of you could speak because you entered, some of you got into that position as opposition, thinking that you will do something. But now you are very quiet because you are not feeding fat. Some of you that even went through Labour Party because of true Peter Obi, you are not there like vegetables because you are not eating fat. The next thing, you cross political party because you are more interested in what enters your pocket. On normal circumstances, after that election, the Supreme Court said that, and FCT, to win and the FCT is not important. I expect that the opposition parties will call for a review of the Constitution. It means that since 1999 now, you people could not define simple thing like and. When the word there is supposed to be mandatory, it is supposed to be mandatory, not just and. You could not use a simple word because you are selfish. You put your pocket and your political party above the country. That controversy that was interpreted or misinterpreted by the Supreme Court ought to be something that you ought to have called for serious amendment on that part of the Nigerian Constitution. And that is what you are supposed to do as opposition. Now, we have serious problem with fuel in Nigeria. The DSS are supposed to investigate the stealing of crude oil. Do you know what it is to steal the resources of a country? And the DSS is doing nothing. Even Asari Dokupo told us that the soldiers are stealing, that the army, they are stealing our natural resources. The DSS, they are doing nothing because what comes around goes around. So you are the problem of the country. You compromise national security for politics. So that is another problem. What the in normal circumstances, when the beavers and the IRF machines were manipulated by the APC people, they made sure that technology failed. It was the responsibility of the DSS to have stopped that national sabotage. But they refused. That's the problem with the country. They refused. Beavers being manipulated by people. Even before the manipulation, DSS ought to have known and prevented it. But they did not. So what is security? All the huge amount of money that they are budgeting for security in Nigeria, what has worked? What has worked? So the people must know that the DSS and the National Assembly, especially the opposition party that ought to be speaking, that the problems with Nigeria. And this cannot stop until we have a constitution where the power to appoint the chairman of EFCC, chairman of the director of DSS, chairman of INEC, that power must be taken away from the president. Until that is done, Nigeria will continue to